special guest, Andrew Botsford.
Love me.
Now here's
It's very
Judy,
interesting.
Judy.
Thank you, Lee, the real Lee Davis. And I have the real Andrew Botsford with me. Welcome to my show, The Play's the Thing.
Thank you, Judy.
And I saw you in that play, The Night Watch.
Night Watch by Lucille Fletcher.
Yes.
Which we just concluded in Quogue in the Hampton Theatre Company.
It was marvelous, and I liked you. You were really wonderful in that role.
Well, thank you very much. It wasn't a very attractive role. He was not the nicest man, but that's often the most interesting characters to play, is people that aren't that nice. So.
Yeah, well, we didn't know in the beginning you were not that nice. Only sort of midway we found that you hung out with the cheater.
Well, there was that. There was a little bit of intrigue going on in the household, and I seem to have a bit of a temper, but hard to say. There's a lot of what that play was about. It was leading the audience in one direction, because there was quite a twist at the end, and you don't want to pull your punches, and you want to surprise people completely, so you can't let them know exactly who you are or what's going on. Everybody wasn't what they seemed in that play by Lucille Fletcher, and it's interesting because not a lot of thrillers are being written for the stage anymore. That's not the kind of...
And that was really, I was very, very pleasantly surprised.
Well, I'm glad.
The only reason I went there because one of the actors in there was in my show here, and he told me about it, so I thought I would take it, but it was worthwhile.
Well, I'm glad you made it down there. That's one of the problems we have here on Long Island, is getting people to go back and forth, east to west. For instance, when we do shows in Quogue, we did shows for a while at the West Hampton Beach Performing Arts Center, and getting people from the other side, the east side of the Shinnecock Canal, to come down and see theater in the western part of town is very difficult. They like to stay sort of where they are. And by the same token, if there's a show in East Hampton, like Hamlet's in East Hampton right now at Guildhall, people from west of the canal don't like to go out there to make that much of a trip. Or if there's a show at Bay Street, it's a long way to go. Long Island is thin, and as we all know, the traffic is horrendous, and it's a long way to go.
However, if there is something that they really want,
absolutely,
then they go.
And that's true. And over the years, we've been doing shows with the Hampton Theatre Company since 1984 now. And over those some 21 years that we've been doing it, we've got an audience base that has been willing to travel. They've come from as far away as Montauk and out in Sag Harbor and Amagansett, and they'll come down to see shows. When it's a show they want to see and they hear good word of mouth on it, they'll make the trip. And because I'm involved in theater and because I work for the newspaper in the arts and living section, I'll travel back and forth. But a lot of people are loath to do so, so it's one of the challenges we have to overcome here on Long Island.
And you shall overcome, I promise you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's a good thing.
And where else did you act? I see your name a lot in a lot of different productions.
Well, I was with the Hampton Theatre Company mostly here. I've done a few things with the Peconic Theatre Company. There was a group, I can't even remember what they were called. We did concert versions of musicals for a little while. We did Of Thee I Sing.
You sing also?
A little bit. I'm not a musical performer. I'm more of an actor. I've had to sing in a few shows I did. I had to sing in Lend Me a Tenor.
I love that show.
That's a great show. I had to sing in Gurney plays. We've done a bunch of Gurney plays at the Hampton Theatre Company, and he likes to include a song or two in most of his shows, so I've had to sing in those. I did Sylvia, which is the play about the man and his dog. Did The Dining Room, did Later Life. I think there's singing in every one of those shows, actually. There's a song here or there in every one of those shows. So I've done some singing, but not really a musical guy.
But you are able to carry off just about anything in a play.
You have to, I guess, if you're an actor, and especially if you're an actor out here where the acting pool is somewhat limited. People that have training and have some professional experience, there's not that many of them, and you work sort of... You have to be able to play whatever parts you can. I'm getting a little bit past some of the parts I'd like to be able to play, just from a factor of age, but I like to think I could bring most of them off. That's the fun of Gurney plays, like The Dining Room, because you get to play all different ages. You get to play an old person, a young person.
What's a Gurney play?
A.R. Gurney is a playwright. He writes about wasps, mostly. He writes about the plight of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, the upper middle class, the to the manor born people of America, and sort of a vanishing species. And in the dining room, there's 6 actors involved, and they each play about 6 characters because it's a number of vignettes. And in some of them, they might play children at a birthday party, and in some of them, they might play someone's grandfather or grandmother. And so they different age ranges for all the different characters, and they could play a lot of different things. He does the same thing in Sylvia, which we did, is about a man and his dog. The dog talks. Sarah Jessica Parker did the role in New York.
Really?
And in that play, there is a character, an actor, who plays 3 different parts. One as a guy walking his dog in the park, one as a friend of the wife of the man who owns the dog, and one as a female friend, by the way, in drag, and then one as a sort of a sexually indeterminate psychiatrist. We're not quite sure whether it's a man or a woman. And in later life, there's a series of characters, 2 central characters that stay the same, and then 2 other actors play about 6 roles each. So he's a playwright who likes to use multiple casting for actors. It's fun for audiences, it's fun for the actors, because each time they come out again, the audience says, oh, wait a minute, I saw them last time as a teenager and now as an old man, and so forth. And there's not a lot of makeup or changes going on, so it's all in the acting, it's a lot of fun for everybody.
So how did you get started in the acting business?
Like a lot of people, I started acting in school productions when I was younger. I did a few female roles myself. I played Judith Anderson in The Devil's Disciple when I was in 8th grade. When I went to boarding school, I played I played 2 female roles in Shakespeare plays. I played Portia in The Merchant of Venice, which is sort of Shakespearean style because they always had young boys playing the female roles in Shakespeare plays, in Shakespeare's time. And then I played, and I can't remember the name of the character, but it was the female in, one of the females in Love's Labour's Lost. So
you got caught, you liked to act.
Well, I like to act. I was bitten by the bug pretty early on, and did it more when I was at boarding school. I was in most of the productions there. I went to college. I sort of stopped acting for a while, which is too bad because I went to Williams College, and they have a great theater program there. And they have wonderful summer stock up in Williamstown in Massachusetts, where a lot of New York actors go.
Are you from Massachusetts?
No, I'm from New York City. But I went to college in Massachusetts, and there at Williamstown, the Williamstown Summer Theater, they have a lot of actors that come up from New York. Frank Langella goes up there. A lot of really well-known, very, very talented actors go up and do summer stock in Williamstown. And there was a great theater program there, but I wasn't part of that. I didn't get back into acting until quite a while after college. And then I went and studied at HB Studios in New York City. And for a while, I was trying to get some work in commercials and other kinds of sort of minimal but paying acting jobs. And that didn't work out because I had obligations out here on Long Island. So
like what?
Well, my family and work that I had to do.
Well, I was just going to ask you, how did you end up on Long Island?
Well, when I was growing up, my parents had a summer house on Long Island, and after my father died when I was 17, his house fell to me and my brother and sister, and it became my permanent address. So I've been here since I was 17. I'm now a lot older than that.
No,
but I'm not going to tell you how much.
We don't talk about age.
Okay.
Oh, I always tell you are old, you're young as you feel.
I think so.
Yes.
And some days I feel younger than others, I can tell you that.
Well, it's marvelous. I mean, you do all this acting and how you memorize all these lines.
That's been a lucky thing for me. I've always been able to learn lines pretty easily. I pick them up quickly. On the other hand, I forget them pretty quickly too. I don't forget them during a production. If I have to say them,
good.
If I have to say them regularly, I'll remember them. But 2-3 weeks away from having said them, they start to slip away from me. I know actors, and I know people that aren't even actors, who can remember a poem they memorized 20 years later, or a speech from a play, and they'll remember almost every line that they had many years later. With me, if it's about 6 months later, I could learn it again in a day, I mean in less than a day, but to say it out of a clear blue sky, I couldn't do it. But learning them fast has always been, it gets me in trouble with some of my fellow actors who are more challenged that way because they can't believe that I spend as little time as I do learning my lines. And by the end of a production, I usually know everybody else's lines too. which can be
Wow.
helpful on stage. If somebody forgets their lines, you can kind of
Yes.
jumpstart the play again and do what's called a cover. But the good part about learning them in a hurry is that on a couple of occasions, when an actor had to bow out of a production, they would call me up and say, can you come and do the part with only 5 or 6 days to go until it opened. And if I applied myself to it, I could learn those lines pretty quickly. So that's a big help. I'm not saying that I could act them very well. I'm just saying I could learn them. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that's another thing. You not only have to learn the lines, but you have to project.
You have to be able to inhabit the character. You have to be able to take them on and make them come from you rather than just reciting
Yes.
lines. You have to make them come
Yeah.
from someplace inside you so that they're believable. So, and that's the joy and the challenge of acting, I'd
Do
say.
you ever have to audition for a play?
I always have to audition. We, at the Hampton Theatre Company, which is the main group I've worked with for the last 20 years, we have essentially open casting. We don't pre-cast almost any of our productions. There's maybe a few times when we've picked a play and ahead of time we've had an idea who was going to play different parts. But even with that idea, we hold open auditions, and anybody that comes, if they read better than I do for a role, they're going to get the part. If the
Really?
director thinks that they're going to be the best, do the best job for that play, if they'll serve the play
How
and
do
the
you
playwright
feel
best.
when you're not picked?
Well, it's tough to take, but it's part of the game.
Yeah, do you feel very bad or just...
Well, it depends, I guess, a little bit on the part. If it's a part that I really had my eyes on and I really had my heart set on having that part and I really was looking forward to doing it, yeah, I'd be pretty crushed by it. But you got to go on, you know. Something else comes up. There's always opportunities. So, yeah, it's not always easy to see, but sometimes when you don't get what you want, there's a reason for it, and you find out later on that it's just opening the door for something else that you didn't even know you wanted, and that's what happens. So it's
So you
things have a
must
way of working out.
You have a very, very full life. You hold down a full-time, very important job, and then in your spare time, you're acting.
It can be a little bit of a challenge. I don't know how important my job is, but it is full-time, that's for sure. I work at the newspaper and the Southampton Press in the Arts and Living section. I'm the associate editor of the paper, and my first responsibility is the Arts and Living section, so we do a lot of covering of cultural events, theater, music, literature, the fine arts, visual arts at the museums, and everything you can think of that falls under the heading of Arts and Living. And that's a pretty full-time job at a weekly newspaper. And so rehearsing, all of us in our company, we don't rehearse during the day because most of us have daytime jobs. It's not like an equity shop where what you do is
Yes.
act, and that's what you do to be paid, and that's what your daytime
Yeah.
job is. And which is kind of a pity because it lets us out of being able to work at places like Bay Street, where there are sometimes parts for non-equity players or equity players that could come to rehearsals during the day, and I just can't do it because I have to be at work during the day. So after a day of work, then I'll come home and go over to rehearsal for a while, and we have about a 3.5-week rehearsal process for a 3-week run of a play. And it's pretty much rehearsing every night and a couple of days on the weekends, and
So you don't have any time for anything else?
Not during the course of a production, really. Once the production's up, then I have my nights off again until on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We tend to do shows on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings and Sunday matinees. So I get 3 days a week off, but that's just off from acting because I still have to do my regular job.
So what do you do on those times when you're not acting or working?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with having those times. I'm either acting or working all the time, as far as I can tell. I have a daughter, and I spend time with my daughter, and she goes to school in East Hampton, so I do that.
How old is she?
She's 17. She's a junior, and so now I have to pay
Is she
attention to where
also-
she's going to go to college and what she's going to do.
Is she also acting?
She hasn't been an actor so far. I don't think she hasn't been bitten by the bug. She's a dancer, and she's a musician. She plays the flute. She's a writer, which I am also, so I think she picked that up from me or along with me.
Oh,
So far, not so much in the way of acting,
Let's hear
no.
about your writing.
Well, the writing is for the newspaper mostly. I write a column now. This summer I've added a column called Eye on the Arts. That's not I as in ego, it's E-Y-E, as in looking at the arts. And
Here's
so
looking
I
at
cover a lot of different things. Write about theater. I write about so far a museum show at the Parish Art Museum. I'll be writing about other museum shows. Different things that occur to me to write about because I've been doing this at the newspaper, the Arts and Living beat, for a long time, so I have a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things. Not a lot of knowledge about a few things, but just a little bit of knowledge. So I get to write, and in this column I get to express opinions in ways that I don't get to express in feature articles. I also write feature articles about theater because it's one of my interests. For instance, in this week's paper, there's an article, it's what we call a curtain raiser, a preview article about the show coming up at Bay Street, the No Time for Comedy, the S.N. Berman play from 1938 that's being revived at Bay Street Theater.
That's a very funny
Yeah,
thing.
and I got to interview Daniel Jarrell, who's the director and is also acting in it, and to talk to Sharon Lawrence, who's the actress who's got the lead role in it. And that's fun for me because I get to talk to actors about acting and about plays, and then write about it for the newspaper. And when I'm talking to them, they are aware that I'm into theater as well, so it makes for a more interesting conversation, I think. And maybe, I hope it makes for a more interesting article about plays, because I know something about theater.
And did you write anything like a play or a short
I've been working on
story?
some different things, yeah, some things outside of the newspaper. As I said, as we talked about, I'm pretty busy most of the time, whether I'm working for the newspaper, editing other people's copy, or writing for the newspaper, or acting, or other things that I do. I have a pretty full schedule, but when I can, I like to write for myself as well.
So what are you working on?
Well, I took a playwriting class up at Bay Street a few years back from Norman Klein, who isn't at Bay Street anymore, but was there for quite a while, and he used to teach playwriting in different places before Bay Street. And they have a good group of writers up there, and I started working on something that I'm not quite sure whether it will work out as a play or possibly as something for television. It's just something I'm playing with. I've also worked with some memoir and fictional prose writing. So, but these are all just sort of projects that are kind of working on. There's nothing really definite that I've got going yet. I'd like to call it yet because I like to think that eventually I'll make it happen.
You're an extremely busy person. I think,
busy.
first of all, I find you are very modest, and you're not giving yourself enough credit with all the things that you're doing.
I don't know. I look around, I see a lot of people that are a lot more accomplished and a lot busier than I am. So I just try and keep it going day by day, that's all.
Yeah, but there, of course, are the people who are doing a lot less than you.
Well, maybe so. I'm not. I haven't got time to think about that really.
So which roles do you prefer to play?
That's interesting. A lot of people, I guess maybe because of the shows that I've done or that have gotten more attention for the Hampton Theatre Company, a lot of people seem to think of me as more of a comedic actor doing comedies. Things like Lend Me a Tenor and The Foreigner, and in certain parts of my roles, there's different roles I played in The Dining Room. We'll get you, we did a show called Rumors, a Neil Simon play. We did that twice.
I saw you in that, and Lend Me a Tenor also.
And so those got a lot of attention, and I think people thought that that's maybe what my main interest is. I like to think I can do comedy well. I enjoy doing comedy, but I also enjoy playing drama. This thriller was kind of it certainly wasn't comedic, The Night Watch, but it was more of a drama, almost into melodrama, but it was kind of an interesting production. There was a play we did called Orphans that was more dramatic, and I found that to be a challenge and interesting. So I would say that dramatic roles are every bit as interesting to me as comedic roles. And you don't say a dramatic role is fun to play, but it's very fulfilling. It's something that takes hold of you, and you take hold of it, and it's an experience. It's what I enjoy about acting is that kind of a challenge, and you have to take comedy seriously too, of course. You don't do it well unless you take it very seriously. But I wouldn't say one's more fun than the other, or that I'm more interested in one than the other. They're very different. But it's the acting itself. It's the taking on of a character. It's the finding the moments between characters on stage. It's the finding the energy between you and the characters and the audience. And the fact that it's live theater, that moment happens, and it will never be exactly the same again, and it will never come again. That I find fascinating, and that it's a through line in a play. You start in one place and you go all the way through to the end, whereas in movies or television or whatever, you shoot a scene, they paste it into another scene, the arc is all disrupted, you do it again, there's no interaction with the audience, there's no energy coming to you from the camera. It's a different challenge. I take nothing away from film actors because I think they're amazing.
Have you ever done any film?
A little bit, just student films and things like that. And I'd be interested in doing more. It's very, very different. The first time I saw myself on film, I realized that I had been acting as if I was on stage. You can't do that for the camera because you come off as a total, oh my God, I'm sorry. I had no idea my telephone was on.
Oh, that happened to be one of the shows.
I will turn it off for you. And
yes. No, I should put up a sign. No cell phones.
I usually don't even have it with me, and I don't
Yeah.
turn it on, but I'm very, very sorry.
Yes, since then I turn it off because all of a sudden I was talking to somebody and it started so loud.
Oh, no, it's incredible.
And I realized it was mine. Of course, I didn't answer it.
Yeah, well, I didn't answer it either. I just turned it off. I'm afraid I hung up on somebody, so whatever. At any rate, but I was saying about the film acting, as I say, I saw myself on film, and I almost wanted to give up acting because it came across so strong and so as if I was playing to the back row. But the camera, of course, is right on you, and every raised eyebrow, every deep breath is picked up, so you have to be much more subtle. It was interesting when I saw Jessica Lange playing Blanche Dubois in Streetcar Named Desire. She did it with Alec Baldwin playing Stanley Kowalski and, in New York. And the critics said that she was too much of a cinematic actor for the role on Broadway because more of it was internalized and it wasn't out the way that stage actors tend to be. But of course, I found her performance very compelling. I took issue with the critics because I thought she reached out to me and I wasn't sitting that close, so I got her energy. But it is a balance, it's a difference. And of course, the great actors are equally good on screen and on stage. I just had the opportunity to see Liev Schreiber, who's an actor in Glengarry Glen Ross with Alan Alda and Jeffrey Tambor, and a bunch of other great players. I've seen him in movies as well, Walk on the Moon, and another movie that I was just thinking of. But anyway, I think he's a very, very good actor, and he's great in movies. He's wonderful in movies, and he was wonderful on stage. So that the good ones, the great ones, can do it either way. They just have to. I think you have to adjust your approach a little bit. And if you see the dailies, if you see the rushes, you'll adjust in a big hurry because.
Well, you could write a column on just about that, the difference between stage acting and movie.
Lots of other people have done that before, and probably much better than I could. So, and they have a lot more experience of it.
Again.
They have a lot more experience of it. I don't have that much experience of film acting. I just know stage acting.
How do you find working with other actors? Do you have like preference? I mean, do you know that you're going to have a problem right away when you go, or you get along with everybody?
No, I mean the actors that I've had the pleasure and the good fortune to work with are professional enough that if you have an issue with them between you as people, it doesn't come out on stage usually, and most of them are nice people, friendly people. They're into the same things. They have the same interests, and it works out for us.
And you never had any problem?
No, I mean there's been some times when people that not really scene partners, but people in the same cast, during rehearsals they can be problematic. They might be a little hard to work with sometimes, but usually by the time the production comes around, actors are actors, and they all pull it together for the show.
How about the director?
Directors, I think directors is an interesting relationship. The relationship between actors and directors is very interesting because the director's job is to create a vision for the production. And he's there, as we all are, to serve the play. The play was created by the playwright, and then it's filtered through the vision of the director and through the performances of the actor. If the director has one idea about your character, and you as an actor have a different idea, well, you're going to have to go with the director's vision because that's his job, he's the boss. But I think you can arrive at places that are more interesting if there's a little bit of creative tension where you tell the director, well, I don't understand that choice you want me to make because it doesn't work for me. What's the matter with my choice this way? And while it may seem like a little bit frictional to begin with, it can probably, I think, it can take you to a place that works out better. And this is just going to keep happening. I thought I'd turned it off, but apparently I haven't.
Well,
So now I'm
maybe
just gonna
it's
do it
Hollywood
again.
calling. They're going to be watching us, and they
I should be so lucky.
And they want you not only for an actor, but for a director and a producer. We are so knowledgeable about everything.
I just talk
that
a lot.
They want you. Well, it's very. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. And it's really wonderful that
I like to be able to fake it.
You what?
I like to be able to fake it, you know.
Fake it?
Yeah, make people think I know what I'm talking about. Then they might take me more seriously, whatever. I don't think I'm going to get hired for that, though.
Until you fake it until you make it.
That's right. Well, that's what acting is anyway, isn't it?
No, acting is entertainment,
Yeah.
and some people just, I'm acting all the time.
Well, everybody is. I was going to say about my daughter, she's
Yes.
not into acting, but I'm sure she's acting quite a bit.
So it's been really wonderful having you. I'm so happy that you came back. I mean, you couldn't come the last time.
Right.
But you apologized so nicely that I called you back, and as I said, I never met you before, but I've seen you on stage, and I spoke to you on the phone many times. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you for having me on the show.
The play is the thing, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch, and you're going to get a lot of fan mail, I'm sure.
Well,
and
that's as may be.
Hollywood, here I come.
Okay.
Well, goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. The play's the thing, and this was Andrew Botsford and Lee Davis, and Robert helping us at the cameras. Christine couldn't be here. Mike couldn't be here, but we managed. And we're going to do this again. I'm looking forward to seeing you in another production.